Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Gulfport. This is their part number FR181. Cased open spat is what this is. This is really nothing other than a U-channel that's been put into a, some steel, some stainless in this case, that has been sheared, put into a press brake, and it's turned into what's called a spat. A spat is a piece of metal, steel or stainless, that is used to cap over and on top of the jamb, the bottom 4 inches or so, the bottom 6 inches of the jamb. The reason that spats are used almost every time I've seen it is when you're repairing, when you are putting a band-aid over an infection, in the sense of you're just capping off something that's damaged without going through the effort of actually replacing the jamb or the frame. You're just going to take this and cap over it because it's damaged, it's rusted, it's rotted, it's dented, it's destroyed, somehow it's missing. And you can bring life expectancy back to the opening when you just cap that damaged area down at the floor, right at the floor, with a spat. I have seen a new project specified where spats were specified from the beginning designing phase of the project, where they were specified to be included and site installed during the new construction phase, because they knew, the architect, the consultant, the contractor, the owner, they knew that eventually they would need spats. And now why at the bottom? Well, at the bottom is generally because when you have mop traffic that's happening, you're hitting the bottom of the jamb. Or if you have an application, an exterior application, which is where I mostly have people ask me for spats, where does the frame seem to always rust, or the door for that matter? Well, the rainwater doesn't start at the bottom, it starts up at the top, but it always rusts at the bottom, and that's because that's generally the bottom of the door or the bottom of the jamb is the final collecting place, the pooling place for all that moisture. A door is interesting because the rain will hit the brick face and come trickling down the face, and then hit the lintel and curl back and get over to the face of the jamb, and then curl between the bottom of the frame, the rabbet of the frame, and the top of the door, and then drip into the bottom of the door. And that trickles all the way down through the door, destroying the bond between the core and the face, the inside face of the steel of the door, which is generally not primed at all because they need the adhesive to stick to it. Pools and collects in the bottom, and that's why the bottom of the door rusts. Well, the same thing happens with the frame. Rain turns to sleet, turns to ice, stays ice for weeks. It eventually melts. That's all melting right at the bottom. So capping it with a spat is a way to get more life expectancy out of something that's otherwise fatigued. I've seen bottoms of jams so fatigued that they're completely rusted away, and you can see the exposed concrete on the inside throat of the frame. And what they'll want is, I just need a spat. Now sometimes what they'll do is go with a half spat, or one that is going to be cut in this rabbet. If I have a prop here, if that's the rabbet, the stop of the frame, they might just want it to go something, your spat is really going to be shaped like this, and you'll cover the stop in one rabbet and then the face, because when you close the door, you won't be able to suffer that additional piece of material between the edge of the door and the rabbet, and between the face of the stop and the face of the door, is generally how that's done. So how well it's going to actually fit and allow your door to still work, your mileage may vary, but that's what a spat is used for, to repair existing damage. This is the FR181 is both cased and stainless. What won't change is the thickness of the material. This is about 35 thousandths, so about a 32nd of an inch. The height generally doesn't really change from 4, 5, 6 inches. About 6 inches typical. This is 5 inch. However, everything else, this 2-inch face, which is just below that, the fact that this is meant for a 5 3/4 frame, all of that needs to be defined in getting you the best fit. So custom-made spats can end up being costly because you're literally defining the face, the rabbet, the stop projection, the soffit dimension, every facet, because every manufacturer's frame, whether it be Seco or Curry's or Pioneer or Steelcraft or other manufacturers like Daybar and others, Baron, and then other people that are less commonly known, all the way to people that have been out of business for years, Kawani and Amweld, Fenestra is another name. All of their jam profiles are going to be different. Not only different, even though they're all using 2-inch face and 1 15/16 rabbets, and then a 5/8 projection. They can make different sizes, but even so, how the tooling in the press brake is actually shaped to bend the material will really affect how well the spat fits onto the material. So spats are difficult in terms of getting one that's actually going to fit properly.
May I help you?
So my recommendation is either you order a stock one and hope for the best and make it fit. Some people will go in and cut that bottom of the jam out, and they'll take that and put it back in and just simply weld it back in place. I would prefer an original, like a strike jam, for doing that. And then you're cold cut sawing it in the field, or you're just abrasive cutting it to fit that in, because that will match the profile much better than weld that in place, because you can, like, maybe say take a 12-inch length and cut up 12-inch and clean all that out and allow a situation where the frame installation basically survives. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, here's the item that we are looking at on site. A relatively generic image that's there, but let's take a look at the photographs that we have. That's just a peel-away protective film, really, is what you're seeing there. Okay. There's just not much to this. So, you know, it's a piece of metal is really all it is. So I suppose we've covered the particulars of where and when you'll use it. Some of the potholes that you might encounter needing to order one and how to navigate around them. Below this video here is a link to the manufacturer's page, and when we click on that, we can view not only all of the Gulfport products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website here, but also a link to the parts catalog. And I would recommend you reviewing this. Gulfport is known as a company who provides piece parts for the hollow metal industry, and they make claim to supply material to every or most major manufacturer of hollow metal doors and frames. I don't doubt that to be true. They don't make doors and frames, but they make all the piece parts for them. Also, if you run a hollow metal shop, having access to this product line could very likely be the best option you have in terms of a comprehensive offering. As I scroll through here, we're looking at anchors, countless different types of anchors that are here. Still anchors. We're on page 6, 7, and we're still looking at anchors. Reinforcements. Still looking at reinforcements. Reinforcements that can get welded into a frame to act as a reinforcement for drilling and tapping hardware to, like door closers, etc. Mounting tabs are here. Filler plates, conversion plates are here. Glazing bead is here as well. Screws and whatnot. And we're about a third of the way through the catalog. I think you get the picture with that, so you'll want to review that. Gulfport also makes items other than parts. They are a importer of hardware. I don't have any experience with their hardware, I don't think it would be any worse or better than any other importer of offshore manufactured hardware, so you may want to review that just for the sake of knowing that it's there and that you're aware of it. Now, in terms of spats, I did want to show you the more typical double rabbited spat that's here. And a lot of these options are here to allow you to determine how best to configure the spat. You can see the cost, and that's because they're usually made to order to the exact dimensional properties that you end up needing. Okay. However, for as expensive as a spat truly is, it is always less expensive compared to removing an entire frame, when sometimes it's not only not practical, but it may not simply be permissible. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Gulfport has historically been a fairly no-nonsense type of company. They manufacture the material, and I find that they can do an order of 60 as easily as they can do an order of 600 of a piece. They're set up for production, really, is what they are. I do notice that the pricing for 1 versus 20 versus 520 is usually a very different number, so be mindful that if you were to order 6 anchors, they're going to be not inexpensive. But if you ordered 160, which isn't really that many anchors when you think of how many frames that would do, there's a drastic difference in price. There's no money in setting up to do one of these, and in order to make that profitable, they have to charge for it, obviously. So if you have any questions on the FR181 stainless cased opening frame spat or any other Gulfport product, please feel free to reach out to us. Did want to pull back that peel away protective film that's there and allow you to see the brushed stainless nature of the material. Definitely stainless steel. Nothing about that magnet is sticking. Okay, any questions on this or any other Gulfport product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.